Very much, viewers across the continents of the world, in Africa and in Europe, America, South America, in Qatar, football is taking place. This is Matsanga's global trend. Matsanga's global trends at times picks up a subject that affects the entire globe and the universe, and we'll tackle it, talk about it. This week, attention has been drawn to the United States invitation that was handed over to presidents of Africa to be in that capital by 12 so that they can start their meetings on 13th, between the 13th and the 15th of December. However, it has been marked by controversy that some African heads of state have not been invited because of military coups, which themselves were engineered by the same countries that have refused to interview or invite the guys. It is therefore very sad that as we look at these events, as our leaders are arranged like primary school teachers, pupils called, summoned to be read with a riot act on what should be done about Africa and what should be done before they are accessed with the much needed resources on the continent. Is this a fair way of calling us a continent that itself produces what they need most? Is it a fair way? We are the source of materials. But why do you call the whole president of an African state, sit him there, give him a free accommodation, hotel, food, and whatever it is they eat is upon them, the United States of America bill? That is not a problem, because if we are eating part of the money that US has gained and taken out of us through so many different channels or Bretton institutions. Bretton institutions like IMF, World Bank have been a pain to African places. Are Africans going to help to ask for a fair treatment in IMF and the World Bank? But one thing that picks out is the question of sanctions against one state called Zimbabwe. I wrote a letter which has actually received very good response across the world. I'm having very many calls coming from Europe, from America. The diaspora operators in the US have picked up the letter, and I wonder you are part of the diaspora organizational committee in the US. Many of them are going to discuss these things this afternoon. And my letter is top on the agenda by the hosts of this summit. My letter was simply to alert African heads of state to pick up where Nkrumah and Nyerere, Obote, Sekou Toure, Vice Lassie, Robert Mugabe, Kaunda, Tom left. Nyerere left a gap. Obote left a gap. Mugabe has left a legacy of speaking out his mind. He has given us the type of energy, like me. I've been a very good follower, a student of hardline politics. I stand by my views until you convince me otherwise. So, what will be the most outstanding situation? Most outstanding, demand that African heads of states can make. Me personally, I feel African heads of state can start asking for cancellation of debts, because in Africa we are dying of debt, huge debts that are very minimal to United States of America. They can cancel them. Tell IMF we shall pay all the debts of Africans who are gathering here. Removal of sanctions from one country is very important, because you cannot go with your brother, and a brother cannot be called. You cannot be summoned by the same man who made you to be killed, who wanted you to be dead. But he wants to see whether you are dying or you are dead or you have half flame because of the diseases that he gave you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the scope of our global trends this morning. Let's join our guest from Harare this morning. Good morning, sir, in Harare, Zimbabwe. Our guest from Zimbabwe, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, you open the floor for us. You have been listening to what I've said. You can now tell us what you think of heads of state going to America. What should they first ask?
On my point of view, I think it's crucial for the head of states to consider Zimbabwe's sanctions, or to call for removal of sanctions to Zimbabwean country, since it also affects the cost of living, even our economy, and also to some political issues. So, for my own thinking, I think it's crucial for them to advocate for the removal of sanctions to Zimbabwe.
Is President Mnangagwa going to this summit?
So far it is not clearly stated that our president is going to that summit, but our hope is he can go if he is permitted to do so.
He has been invited. He has been invited by.
He is not yet invited.
Oh, he has not been invited.
There's no information which clearly state that.
Okay, because I saw among the 49 heads of state, among the states that were prohibited from going to Europe, to America, Zimbabwe is not on the list.
Yes, it's not on.
We assumed he has been invited, and I believe I will cross-check this. But what do you think? How will Africa look like if they come out of this conference without talking about one of their brothers having a problem with sanctions? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very sad if Africans go to that to United States and failed to discuss about Zimbabwe. Since we are saying Zimbabwe and other African countries, we are one, and we are also black people. So we must stop being abused or used by these foreign countries like United States, Britain, and so forth, to mention a few. So, in short, I can safely say it is important for all Africans to stand with Zimbabwe in terms of these sanctions which are imposed here in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you very much. Miriam, what new do you think, Africa? We have issued debt. We have mortgaged most of our properties. We have to get loans. IMF still puts us on loan lists as defaulters. We don't have a say in the United Nations Security Council. We are standby-ers, watchers, spectators of the match between Qatar and ourselves. We have no say even in football. The whole world, Europe has 13 teams, we have 5. Very badly arranged teams like the one of Senegal that you call that it is a champion of Africa. It's sad. All this goes back to one thing: our resources are not enough to be able to equip our teams to reach the level. But where do our resources come from? Where do they go? They go back to pay the loans of IMF and the World Bank, which we always get in billions, $200 billion, $3 billion, $1 billion. We get it, so, but we must continue paying. Yet the United States does not pay the same rates like we the ones we pay. Don't you think it is time for us to just sit in that building and say, please, you want us to be with you? You want us to support you on the Ukrainian war? You want even us to condemn Ukraine, Russia? Because after this summit, believe me or not, Russia is going to call the summit. So we Africans have been like ladies who are seduced. I don't want to use this word on this platform. Lakini I don't know what Mr. Sibarachi, is it Sibarachi in Zimbabwe? A lady who has multiple partners, or a man who has is called who?
Maybe I offered feeling to.
No, a lady. If you have a lady who has too many, one partner here, another one there, you see him with another one. Is called Malaya in Kenya.
Malaya.
I think in Shona is Kulaya.
Kulaya, all right, okay.
It means in Zimbabwe it means to lie. You move from one here to there. You don't have a stand.
Okay, yes.
Not only ladies, even men who have several partners, they also do kulaya. Malaya. Yes,
yeah.
have 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 local country in that meeting. Can you just, instead of paying 60 billion, can you have all the money that we gave you, you pay us, and we leave you with your new husband? Literally speaking. So that's why some African countries are finding it difficult. Do they go or they don't go? I'm telling you, Miriam, by Friday, the list will be very clear. Those who have left, do have. For sure, there is one head of state who will not go, who cannot step US, because he can't sit on one plane for a long time. Is Paul Biya. He needs the toilet all the time, and the toilet in the plane, 11 hours, 14, could you feel? Because he has eaten for 42 days. So thank you very much, Miriam. Let me hear your views. Then we come to Wanda, then we come back to our guest. Then I'll do a takeaway.
Yeah. Paul Biya, maybe he can go, because I believe that he'll be going there with a private jet that is comfortable, has the nice washroom.
There's no private jet that can arrive.
And all that.
14 hours flight. The toilets will be full. You need a jumbo jet.
Okay, I will digress. So let me just...
A jumbo jet, Miriam, they're like a 778 or Airbus. But he can hire, you are right, he can hire an Airbus. He has the money.
Okay, so let me speak on a couple of issues that have been raised, I think, by one of our guests there, and that is perhaps the rest of African countries need to take a stand with Zimbabwe, especially when it comes to these unnecessary sanctions that continue to affect this country. I don't see that happening because, Africa, we are divided, and that has been by design, and we will continue to be divided. And when they go there, they are going to look after their own interest a lot of times. So anything that will stand in the way between what they really want and what perhaps will be best if we could stand together as a continent, they will choose their own greed and interest and what they feel is best for their own country or the people they represent. And so I don't see that ever happening, taking a stand. I don't see them do that. But I think it will be a great show of support for the country and the people of Zimbabwe. But I doubt any of them has even the moral authority to do that. They don't have that. The other issue is about the debts that a lot of African countries have, and perhaps if at all this could be forgiven and be written off as bad debts, well, we go out there to borrow these debts. I think we take the steps and we go out there as the different leadership of this continent and we borrow this money. So that is a responsibility that we have to take. We can't borrow, and now we are unable to pay, and now we play victim. If we make decisions, then we have to be accountable for those decisions. And a lot of these monies end up in corruption. They don't do what they're meant to do in these countries. We borrow, and we can hardly, show what these monies have done. We are corrupt to the core. These monies we borrow go to private pockets, and we can blame that also in bad governance that we see very rampant, in this continent. So if we were able to manage our own resources in the continent, in the different African countries, there will not be a need for us to even borrow as much as we borrow today. But because of bad governance, because of weak institutions that we have in this continent that lack safeguards for accountability, because of just poor leaders that we keep putting in positions of power, it has messed up everything. So now what happens, even what we can manage within and live within our means, we are able to do that. So we go borrowing. Nobody sends that out. Nobody sends that out there to go borrow. This is a decision our leaders sometimes make, whether we like it or not. And so if we've gone out there to borrow, then we must be prepared to repay that debt. So I know right now a lot of countries are suffering because of COVID-19 and everything else and bad economic times. But I doubt there will be any debt cancellation. We must pay our debts. If we borrow, then we must pay, because a lot of these debts anyway, we stole. And we built private things, and they've not even benefited our people. So I think that is the quagmire, doctor, that we find ourselves in, unfortunately, in this continent.
It is indeed the medium a quagmire that we find ourselves in. We borrow the money, but it all ends up in corruption.
We borrow and steal it.
Yes, we stole it. So when it comes to paying, we have gained nothing out of the borrowed money. That's the tragedy of Africa. Chinua Achebe was right when he said the mountains, the savannah anthills, the anthills of savannah are here in Africa. If you look at all the projects that China has done across Africa, all of them, money was borrowed, huge extra money was borrowed, but the project itself is not worth the money. So when you are paying and the railway is breaking down behind where you paid, it is very sad. Wonder.
Thank you so much. Hope I'm clear. In the morning, I had a bit of issues with the voice, the connection. I hope I'm clear.
You are very clear now and very strong.
Thank you so much. Now, Africans, what is happening currently is very close to what we had during the Cold War era. That during the Cold War, it was a competition between Russia and USA. So it was a competition of who is stronger, who can influence more than the other one. Now, when you look into what Russians have been doing, sending the donations in form of fertilizer to Africa, and not just one African nation, but a number of African nations. Now, what Africans leaders are now going to face in USA, one, they should go there knowing they were invited after USA had a meeting and they discussed the kind of things that African leaders are likely to ask them. And therefore, if our leaders goes there with an imagination that they're going to they're going to start a meeting at the same time, then they will be wrong at that point. They're going to have a meeting that was already set, that was already discussed, that they had probably someone ended up behaving like African leader, then they could shoot what this question that Africans are likely to ask. Then how can we react on them? USA, to me, will behave like a boss, but a bulla boss to Africans. That if African leaders goes there as coward employees, then the bulla boss will bull them and will carry the day. But now these bulla boss will want to bull them and make them afraid of asking what they're supposed to ask. That the bulla boss knows that Africans are going to ask a question based on what Dr. Matsanga wrote as 30 points in the 30 points letter, that we want to see one of our own Zimbabwe's being allowed to walk now and grow as a nation, remove all these sanctions. America knows that is going to be asked. America knows that Africans are going to either ask a question on climate change. America knows all these kind of questions that African leaders are going to ask. But one thing that America will likely try to do, will want to bull African leaders and will want to divide against African leaders. If they're sure that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 countries that are seen to be, or will be seen, or seems to be one who can make the loudest noise in Africa, and one who, when they make noise, other African leaders are likely to listen to them and do what they're doing, such kind of African leaders will be put in the pocket. Then the Americans will want to use them so that their agendas are addressed. Therefore, our leaders, one, I wish that somebody somewhere made them have at least some either virtual meeting or at least a shared agenda, so that when we get in prepared, or they get in prepared knowing we are going to face this guy who is our bulla boss. Let us not be divided against. Let us go with one common stand, that we are going to talk about A, B, C, and D. Even if you're called in a separate room, don't be promised heaven on earth, then you be a sellout to one of us or to some of us. I know that is going to happen, but it's only a case of, I pray that when our leaders goes there, they go prepared knowing that it's easy if they win as a team and not win as an individual. Winning as an individual will not help us. If Kenya wins and the neighbor of Kenya does not win, if the neighbor suffers, then believe me, no, you equally suffer. It is the best chance that Africans are having at such a period of time when so many Africans are educated, so many Africans are literate, so many Africans can work everywhere. Africa can compete with the rest of the world because a good number of our people are now learned. And based on the grounds that it is a close case of a Cold War that we once had, if our leaders use it and realize that the potential of the continent positions them to discuss, positions them to equally demand on 1 or 2, 3 things, then lucky enough for us as a continent. But I'm afraid the bulla boss will want to bull them and divide against them. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much, Wanda. You have made very important points. Some of them were almost very crucial. What can we do now that this is there? The meeting is going to take place. How many African heads of state will go? We don't know. Mr. Simbarashi from Nairobi. Sorry, from Harare. Sorry, not Nairobi. I am already to Nairobi.
Okay.
What are your final thoughts about this whole saga of heads of state summoned by a superpower that has caused the wars, that has sent us proxy war in Congo? We are fighting a proxy war that we don't know the head, we don't know you see the behavior of Congolese wanting money and walking out of their conferences. They want to say their money is not being paid. So what is the solution to all this mess for Africa?
Okay, maybe I can safely say we need to have unit within Africa. Stay away from imperialism, stay away from terrorism within the African continent. Xenophobic issues like what is done in South Africa. So I think if we are on the same boat as Africans, I think we can stand this the bullying which is done by these countries from the West.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a technical problem there, Doc.
Maybe there's something I can't hear.
But we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am now hearing you.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, I was saying we must be in a position of having a unit within our African continent, so that we can stand on that bullying which is imposed to us by the West or the United States America.
Mm-hmm.
In short.
All right, Doc.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much, Simbarashi from Harare. Thank you very much, Wanda. We have done our best to alert the heads of state about the dangers of IMF, Security Council, United Nations Security Council. We have no level ground. We have huge debts that America has not cancelled. The last time America canceled debts was during Clinton and Bush. In fact, George Bush, the son, was the best man for Africa. Mr. Obama brought us only Gonja, is it Gonya issue. We still remember that word when the sister of Obama was insulting every African that stopped this begging spree. Gonya in Africa means womba womba. I don't know. Miriam and I will tell us more than Stephen. But we only have one thing that we saw about Obama. Is that he brought us war and left us with war, brought us Africa, killed Libya. Libya died during Obama's hands, our own African brother. So those who want to go to US, we wish you good luck. Those who want to remain and protest and say they need Zimbabwe to be removed first before they attend such a meeting, that's also good luck. And especially now that President Ramaphosa, who has been spearheading on behalf of SADC, has actually escaped the ropes of a trick or a framed up money, which now the owner of the money has admitted that he passed through the airport. So let's go back to the story. How did the South African customs allow $500,000 or $4 million to pass through the airport? So these are some of the things. Now that Zuma, Mr. Ramaphosa is off hook, we are home and dry. He will be going to US to fight for Zimbabwe's presence and removal of sanctions. I single-handedly have been fighting these sanctions for the last 20 years. I've been there during Mugabe days. In London, people wanted to kill me because I was supporting President Mugabe, the late. May his soul rest in peace. And the president of Zimbabwe is a great friend since 1998. I've known him. I respect him as an elder. His judgment over these issues are not sentimental, but they touch the common thread of any African, that as you sit and eat and dine and toast, there is one brother who is sick, and you want to toast when a brother is sick. Why can't these leaders say, no, before we make a toast, can you remove sanctions on Zimbabwe? That is a wait and see what type of package they will give Russia and China are also going to invite these same African leaders. As soon as they leave the other side, they will be taken on this other side. Thanking you so much, Miriam. My energy is oozed up. I don't think I can be able to do anything more than that. The last night, Twitter took me up to 3 a.m. I've not had enough of energy to push further than this, but I want to take this opportunity. We have overshot the hours up to 1:12. May God help you. May God help Africa. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Africa. See you in a short while, again at 3 p.m. with Diaspora Dispatches, when Miriam will be explaining some of the issues that are bothering us in the diaspora of Africa. From me in the London Command Center, I say bye. Back to you in Nairobi, Miriam.
Thank you so much, and we thank our guest for being with us today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.